the Go Around to Soccer's morning show. It is Thursday. I think last time I checked, Jared, it's Thursday. Thursday Thoughts. And greetings from Macon, Georgia on one end, parts unknown on the other. And it's a stacked show, as always. Thursday Thoughts, whatever's on your mind. There's a lot going on that we need to get into this morning. There's CONCACAF Champions League, and that'll be kind of the opening kickoff. We have the other Champions League. We have Europa and Europa Conference League today. So you can have your 12 hours of soccer experience starting at noon, finishing at midnight. We'll go over what's going on in Champions League tonight. It involves the defending champs in Major League Soccer. They are going to have their match late. News out of USL Championship. We've got Open Cup stuff to talk about. We've got stuff in France to talk about. France. I need that drop. I just need that instead of other things. And there's news about the French FA. There's news about the FA in and of itself. There's stuff about the Champions League final from last year. There's news about networks to talk about. So good morning, Jared.
Okay, good morning, I guess. It's a lot of information.
There is.
It's a lot of information in a short amount of time. That's where I'm at with it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What I wanted to start with, and Will Palaszczuk, Willie P. Styles, coming on at 10 o'clock to talk about Charlotte and anything else on his mind as the Charlotte-Atlanta match is growing nigh, I think, as the adults in the room say. That coming up in a very short order, we'll talk to Will about Charlotte so far this season and what he's anticipating with this matchup. The early matchup with Jake Zivin and Taylor Twellman on your Saturday. But I don't know, Jared, how much soccer did you watch? Did you watch any of the Champions League stuff last night from CONCACAF?
No, this year has been weird for me in that I haven't really watched much of Champions League, European Champions League, for yesterday afternoon. I just haven't been into it. I don't know how else to phrase that because I don't mean it in like a, man, I get enough out of this damn country with like half the people who cover this sport being kind of elitist about stuff. Where I don't mean it in an elitist way. Like I just haven't like taken the time to watch it this year. It's not a slight against Champions League. It's just kind of how I haven't really had time. I haven't taken the energy to do it. Watch CONCACAF, which, in a sense is just some big old sickos energy, which is beautiful. Doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's not as high quality usually as what you're going to get out of UEFA Champions League because those are literally the best in the world. So it makes sense. But yeah, for me, I guess this year, like it's been a matter of like I just haven't taken the time to watch Champions League in Europe, and I know like everyone's lost their mind over. I saw like clips from yesterday's games, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, PSG gets bumped out again, and color us all shocked and surprised.
Honestly, it's funny at this point. It's funny that they can spend all of basically the money that they can possibly put together, and continue to just run into the same ending. They are the Wile E. Coyote of European soccer. It doesn't matter how much money they spend. It does not matter what you buy from the Acme Corporation. You are doomed to failure. Congratulations.
Yes. And obviously we'll get into that. We'll get into Antonio Conte and his thoughts about what happened yesterday and his thoughts about continuing at Spurs. I just legitimately think he's done at the end of the year. And this is probably just going to be good enough of a reason to add to the front office woes to just sit there and say, end of the year, you don't have a contract renewal. We'll just go ahead and part our ways. And by the way, if you hadn't noticed, this is our opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching live on Twitch. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchases with everything going on with Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Last night in Champions League, the late game, Vancouver opened up the entire six-pack of the ass whoop on Real España. And Real España loses by the score of 5-0. And then it comes out after the match from our friend J.J. Williams at the Vancouver province. He says, España coach Emilson Soto said the travel and cold were big factors in the loss, with a player collapsing in the locker room post-game and being taken to the hospital. CONCACAF,
Good Lord.
Real España have not released the player's name. So that came out in the late game. You had the middle game last night, and then you had the first match, and this is what I wanted to get into this morning for opening kickoff, and the matches that continue to work their way forward. What I wanted to talk about was the match that will be happening, or at least we hope it's happening, at Q2 with our friends from Violette and Austin FC.
Yeah.
Caleb Jephthah, a Haitian sports journalist, last night, 13,000 followers on the Bird app. So we'll sit there and take that for face value. It was reported by outlets in Texas through Caleb Jephthah. Violette may forfeit their second leg match with Austin FC due to the fact that only 12 members of the team have been allowed entry into the U.S., which includes coaches and players. So the story that was Violette may just be a one-leg entry. But here's the thing. You win 3-0 on the road. A forfeit is 3-0. So wouldn't you be tied at 3 after 2
Well,
legs?
you won 3-0 at home.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. But then if it's a 3-0 forfeit, then Austin is scoring three goals at home, right?
Yeah.
So
you're not wrong. I mean, y'all have kind of got the you kind of have where we're going with this. I feel like we don't need to draw too many breadcrumbs on this one.
No, and it's just very, very odd. And if you're a fan of Violette and if you're a fan of soccer, why would you not even anticipate, just even if on the off chance, on that one in a gazillion chance that you would get the result that you got, why would you not fill out your paperwork to sit there and be ready for the second leg? Just because you got 2 legs, You got 2 legs of what's going on, and you could end up with Violette forfeiting the second leg, but then you'd be tied at 3, and then CONCACAF's trying to figure out how to come up with a result here. And what happens? It is a draw with a win and a forfeit. What do you do from here? That's my question. And then I want to see how this gets worked out. Does Violette end up with a massive amount of visas that get squared away at the last? This is my question. I need answers. I need answers on this. It's a 3-3 draw.
I don't work for the State Department, though. I don't know the answers to these questions.
But at the same time, even if you're Violette, why? Coco. How long has Violette known they're going to be in CCL? How long have they known this? How long?
Question for them.
I feel like,
and I think that will factor into how this gets handled. Because if it comes out that hey, they've known this and they didn't get this settled, then CONCACAF might not be very forgiving of them, honestly.
I know. It's like, dude, what are you not doing here? It's like, why did you not do this? And like I said, I want to see how the CCL tribunal figures this out. I want to know how the Judge Wapner of CONCACAF Champions League, when you go to CONCACAF People's Court, how you figure this one out.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's a matter of it might just completely come down to, hey, you've known about this for months and you didn't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what you want us to do. Mm-hmm. Like, you had time, if that's the case, and you had time and you didn't do anything about it, then not really sure what you want us to do.
Yeah, and so Coco, obviously, good morning to everybody who's hopped in this morning. Coco says Violette should have gone for 4. Yes, they should have just gone for 4 and taken their chances. Yeah, and Ricky, forfeit, extra time. So where are you going to play the extra time? Because extra time would be immediately after the match is over. See, now that might actually be something here, because if you forfeit and you go to extra time, you're only playing 30 minutes plus possibly penalties. instead of having to play 90 minutes plus 30 plus penalties. You think that the 12 folks that head north, if you had 11 players and a coach, literally, if you had those 11 players playing 30 minutes in extra time, then go into PKs, I think they might be that physically enough fit to play 30 instead of 120. I see. I think we might be onto something here. We might be onto something. So you forfeit the match, which means extra time. Then when you get to extra time and extra time is declared by the center ref in this match at Q2 Stadium, then Violette just wanders out onto the pitch with everyone banging their drums thinking that it's over. But no, Violette comes storming out to their music.
Weirdest scenario I can come up with for you here.
Okay.
Is Violette shows up with not enough players, take the 3-0, but just bring 5 guys and a goalkeeper and play the shootout.
Well, that's true.
Just show up and be like, yeah, we know we lost. Hey, but we won the first 3-0. So we brought 5 guys who can take penalties and a keeper.
Mm-hmm. And we're ready to go.
Ready when you are.
That would be awesome. See, but like I said, this is where CONCACAF's Judge Wapner comes into play here. Will believes forfeit also has to forfeit the tie. Bam, who watched, he says Bam is a massive fan of the Violette tree behind the goal, as you should. Well, and that was at Stadio Cibao in the Dominican Republic. So maybe it's Stadio Cibao that has the tree. But obviously, yeah, Coco. Gonna go to Mexico or the U.S. Why not be prepared for either scenario? Yes. That literally, this is what we're the more base issue, and I know that we're having fun with the issue. And by God, that's Violette's music. They come out for however long they get to come out after surrendering the 90-minute result. And Bam is saying that now we could be going Moneyball. Own goals mean 2 goals for the team, which would be 4. That'd be nice. And to your point, Will, yeah, it does prevent teams like PSG from forfeiting when you're up 4-0 on Barca, even though they would never blow such a lead. Yes, absolutely. And Ricky, with the larger question here, does CONCACAF have any blame in this? Absolutely they do. If you're not preparing your teams, hey, you have qualified. Yeah, but think about it. If you are CONCACAF and you have teams in this tournament that get to this stage where you are traveling hither and yon, would you not be able to tell these teams, hey, look, when the draw happens, get your paperwork squared away because you never know.
But what if they did and the team didn't do it? At what point is that CONCACAF's fault? Now, I know I'm dealing in theoreticals at this point. We're dealing in hypotheticals.
Yes.
We're all dealing in hypotheticals. We don't know the story. If CONCACAF told them, hey, welcome to CONCACAF Champions League, make sure your paperwork is in order, you might have to go play in the U.S., and it might take a while because they're slow and bureaucratic there. You might have to have paperwork to go play anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that is your responsibility as a club. If they didn't do it, that's not CONCACAF's fault.
No.
That's the team's fault.
True. Absolutely.
100%. Now, if CONCACAF is supposed to assist them and didn't, or if something was supposed to be done by CONCACAF and they didn't do it, then yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. If CONCACAF waved every possible flag and said, yo, here's the deal. You get your stuff squared away. Hey, we're being really serious now. We're being really serious. You've got to get your stuff squared away. Come on now. You've got to do it. And they still don't do it. Then it's on Violette. We don't know.
Yes.
Obviously, we don't know how much influence CONCACAF basically said, okay, here's, guys, we don't know how much of that was done from the CONCACAF office. We don't know how much of this was done on Violette. But seriously, it literally, this is like, guys, come on now. What was the holdup here? That's the big question. If we're getting to this point, but once again, we don't know what happens. Although I would love for it, to hear the glass crashing and Violette's music after 90 minutes at Q2 and figure out where to go from here since you're tied at 3. But yeah,
it'd be great. But like I said, depending on how much of this CONCACAF was supposed to do versus how much the club is supposed to do, if they didn't get their stuff done, that's on them. Now, if this is a matter of we put our stuff in and, the United States is slower than molasses in January,
Right.
yeah, congratulations. You have learned the same thing we have all known in this country for
Mhm.
an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And it's a tougher situation, man.
Yeah, and I mean, Bam says, yeah, what if they applied on time and everyone else got rejected? So,
Yeah, absolutely. It is tricky. It's not clean cut.
mm-mm.
I don't love the idea though that like it's exactly one person's fault or someone else's fault. Again, so many of these issues are they are very they are very they're very difficult to deal with. They're not black and white.
Right.
And I despise when we ever do this where we're like, hey, it's exactly like this. Like, no, it rarely is an exact thing where it's a black and white situation where it's easy to figure out. It so rarely is an easy black and white situation. There's lines of gray in between, and I feel like sometimes we just refuse to acknowledge that, and it's really damn annoying. I'm not gonna lie.
No, but I mean, once again, we are stuck with a situation. And Burned brings this up. He goes, "This stuff plus MLS teams playing their backups makes it hard to take CCL seriously." You're disappointed in a process and in a tournament because, once again, since we don't have all the information, but the mere fact that Violette, who had an upset for the ages in the first leg of their series against Austin FC, could be forced to forfeit leg number 2, and once again, we don't know the end result should they have to do that because of apparent issues about entering the country. What happened here? What was the fall down? And I think that it would be cool if the club came forward and said, okay, here's what happened. And until we get Violette's point of view and their perspective on this, we won't know what happened. But the bottom line is that we have a moment in CCL that literally could be put in file 13 because of a lack of individuals that were cleared to come into the United States for whatever reason and whatever the fall down is, whether it's CONCACAF, whether it's the club, whether it's the State Department here in the United States. We don't know. But it's disappointing that we have a moment that could be just tarnished by something that came across from a Haitian journalist last night. And obviously, when we know more, we'll know more and we'll let everybody know. But it's disappointing when it comes to this tournament. In any tournament, really, when you have a large upset like this, where you won't get the conclusion right now, it appears, you won't get the conclusion that you were hoping for, to see Violette come into Austin, Texas, come into Q2 with a roster and see if they can defend something like this. So, it is disappointing on a bunch of different fronts. And when we get more answers, then obviously we can be more vitriolic about which side fell down in all of this. But we are on the verge of possibly once again not having a team come into this round get a result, because I remember what happened last year with the Revs having the same thing where you ended up with a forfeit. So yeah, just it's disappointing. And Burn, to your point, yeah, sometimes it is difficult to take the tournament seriously when you have moments like this. So yeah, I saw that this morning and felt that we all should know that this possibly could be happening. And Jared, I didn't mean to get y'all fired up for that.
Well, I mean, because look, they're also a club that doesn't have a league right now because Haiti is an absolute mess and they don't have a functioning place. Honestly, right. I mean, Jesus, Austin. Again, we can rehash this part that it's somehow even more embarrassing than what everyone else has done when they get their when they get their first CONCACAF experience and it goes south.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing when you lose to like a club that's doing really well in league. But then when you end up like losing to a club that exists and has not played since God knows when because their federation just doesn't like they don't have a league to play in, it is somehow even more embarrassing. And now you're in a situation that sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
So good job, Austin. The whole thing, I mean, I don't know, man. It's all so stupid. There's stuff that they've got to get fixed on the federation side of this, and it's stuff they got to get fixed on the CONCACAF side of it, to Burns' point, to where you actually have like clubs that can go places and play in games. God forbid they get to go play in a damn game. and figure that out however it needs to be done with the State Department, with whatnot, whether this was in fact a thing where maybe, the the club didn't do their job, or CONCACAF didn't do their job, or the State Department didn't do their job, and you got to figure something out here.
Yeah.
It's easier in UEFA because you have freedom of movement. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's gotten a little bit tricky with Brexit, but you don't have the same issues.
No, and Ricky finally gave me the idea of who it was. It was Cavalli from Haiti who had to drop out because of visa issues, and it was the Revs that got to advance. But Alex, to your point, and to a lot of other folks' points, the idea, once again, I mean, and I know that Michael Head was wondering why you even have a team like Violette in the tournament anyway when you haven't played in 289 days. They earned their way in.
Yeah, they earned their way in before that. I mean, it's again, man, it's Haiti. It's hard to pinpoint, and it's hard to figure out sometimes because it's complicated, because we don't have, I mean, to be blunt, like, we don't have those problems here.
And you have all of the turmoil going on. You have all of the hurricanes and all these other issues, and so it's environmental, it's political, and all.
There's a lot of geopolitics and with that. I mean, man, Haiti. There's a lot to unpack with Haiti that we don't have time for.
No, that's poli-sci down here, and that's an entirely.
We are not starting that today. I do not have the constitution to start an entire discussion about that today. I do not.
No, but at the same time, it's just the overarching element once again, where you have a club in a tournament that earned their way in, that, and I mean this seriously, they earned their way into this tournament. So, they went up against any and every possible obstacle that was in their way, and they got in through the club championship. They got into this tournament, and my overarching point is, it's disappointing that we probably at this point, I'll just say this, we may not see a second leg involving another Haitian club that did tremendous work in the first leg against a Major League Soccer side. For whatever reason, whatever the fall down was on however many different levels it was, it's just disappointing again that we have this, that we are faced in this tournament with a country and a club that did some fantastic work in leg number one. So
they earned their way in, and now it's and not only did they earn their way in, they brute forced a club that almost played for a title last year in MLS.
Yeah.
Which, again, we talked about this. Austin, we got to talk about your house. We got to talk about some stuff you got to get done around the house, because right now it ain't it.
No.
I don't know how y'all want to fix this, but y'all got to fix some stuff, because first 3 games of the season have not been it for Austin.
Yeah. So, and that's the other part in all of this. It's everybody was looking about, Austin after last year and everything.
I fully expect Austin to get, if they advance through this, I hope they are clowned into oblivion, into the damn shadow realm.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see. I'm looking really quickly to see what the bracket looks like, to see what it would be when it comes to, there's Champions League. I'm trying to see what the bracket looks like for this particular tournament and how it is laid out. Leon beat Tauro last night 1-0. Olympia put a thumping on Atlas 4-1. And the Whitecaps beat Real España by the score of 5-0. That's, let's see, quarterfinals. So we're in the round of 16, getting into the quarters, because it's like TBC. I need a bracket, folks. It's like you sit there and it's like, I want a bracket. Click the button to download the bracket. So all right. So I'm clicking to download the bracket. All right. So here we go. Austin would get the winner of Leon and Tauro. So right now, Leon is up 1-0. Austin would end up facing a Liga MX side if things go the way that we anticipate that they would go. If Austin advances, they get Leon. in April.
I would just the stupidest scenario at hand here is that Austin advances, and that in the midst of their advancing, Austin somehow, I don't know, like beats Leon after looking like basura for the first 3 games. Austin advancing would be the funny, and then somehow beating Leon and figuring things out and winning would be the funniest damn outcome.
Then there on the left-hand side of the bracket, they would get the winner of the quadrant of Purple Team, Tigres, Pachuca, and Motagua. So it's Purple Team, Tigres, and Pachuca, it looks like, unless Motagua finds a way to come through in the league. That's the low left part of the bracket that Austin would be facing. Austin is left-hand side of the bracket for everybody filling out your brackets this morning. So that's where you are. So those of you filling out your brackets, that would be your show to pay attention to where Austin FC is concerned. Yeah, Austin gets it. Yeah, so Coco, Austin gets Leon in the Copa Disappointment. Both, quoting Coco directly, both are sucking right now. Yes, Alex, I do remember the Twitch watch-alongs. And so that was, that was definitely something there. We mentioned Open Cup. We mentioned CONCACAF Champions League. So I guess technically this is the end of the opening kickoff where we've gone geopolitical down here. And there's your QR code once again for those of you watching on Twitch. And use the code Soccer Down Here 15 with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10% and roll it over into youth games, very, very youth initiatives, very, very cool stuff from our friends at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Which reminds me, having to do with tournaments. Do you see what's going on with the Open Cup, Jared? With our friends?
What's going on with the Open Cup, John?
The broadcast plan has been revealed for the Open Cup.
Jesus. Okay.
Yes. And it's not what it was last year.
Okay.
The 2023 U.S. Open Cup is going to be streamed live, free and globally, according to our friends at Open Cup, via Bleacher Report's app and the BR Football YouTube channel. And if your game has not been chosen to be broadcast on the BR live stream, clubs will have the option to produce things themselves. Featured matches, and this is from Chicago, although this is not from Chicago House because the house is on the market, but it is from Chicago. Featured matches from the first 3 rounds of the 2023 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup will be streamed live for free to a worldwide audience on the Bleacher Report app and the BR Football YouTube channel. Coverage kicks off highlighting the nation's top amateur teams that will face off for a chance to take on the professional clubs in the next round. 6 first-round matches feature across 3 nights, March 21, 22, and 23. Cup set season, as they term it, begins 2 weeks later with the first interdivision matchups of the tournament. Amateur teams from the Open Division getting their first shot to knock out a professional team, 3rd Division pros against 2nd Division. 8 second-round games featured on BR platforms April 4 and April 6. MLS teams enter in the 3rd round. 18 clubs join. 8 featured matches in the 3rd round. And so it is on BR, not the Plus, but it's on the BR app and the BR Football YouTube channel. Featured first-round games, Westchester United, Ocean City, El Farolito International, San Francisco, App FC, our friends at Appalachian FC, on March 22nd. They are at 7 o'clock against North Carolina Fusion's U23s. Chicago House AC is taking on Bavarian United. That sounds like a party. Ventura County Fusion and Capo on the 22nd. Hartford City and Lansdowne Yonkers on the 23rd. Live on BR second-round games early April include Detroit City on the 4th, Oakland Roots on the 4th, Lou City on the 5th against Lexington Sporting Club. That's an interesting one. Des Moines Menace or Beeman United against Chattanooga FC. Colorado Springs, Northern Colorado is on there. Phoenix Rising, Greenville Triumph is on there. Richmond Kickers versus the winner of Cleveland SC or Lions Bridge. And so it's on BR. It is on the BR Football YouTube channel and the Bleacher Report app, the U.S. Open Cup. So it is not the way that it was last year. and it is going to be in a different place this year. And once again, if your club was not chosen, I believe there is an option to self-produce matches that you can run yourselves. So, yeah, U.S. Open Cup's going to be a little different, Jarrett. Another place to try and find it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, at least we get to watch it, right?
Yes, some of it, not all of it.
At least we get to watch some of it.
Yes, we have some of the matches. Well, as of right now, BR is only doing a select number. If your team was not selected as a BR match, you can see if you wish to self-produce the match and air it in your own way. So we'll see what it looks like going forward. But yeah, it's basically if it's yes, and Coco, basically if it's not on the BR stream, no guarantee it'll get streamed. Guarantees that, and so Ricky basically guarantees you won't be seeing the entire first round and probably some second round. And so this is already drawing the ire of fans in the Twitch pitch this morning. So that's what you're staring at. Burned. Cost U.S. Soccer over $1 million to produce the Open Cup games. U.S. Soccer posted a huge loss last year, so that's what happened. It's a cost-cutting measure from the as Burned is interpreting from doing math this morning. So cost-cutting measure by the Open Cup and the Open Cup folks in U.S. Soccer. So there you go.
Yeah.
And it's another app for us to download when it comes to our viewing habits. Yesterday, we kind of talked about it. We talked about PSG, which is quoting our friend Keith Olbermann from the time of the Big Show. PSG! Something like that.
Keith Olbermann getting discussed in the year of our Lord 2023.
But just it was, yeah. Well, on the Big Show, doing highlights, it was anything that there was a G that involved failure. It was always a Gah!
Yeah, no, I get you.
And so PSG loses, and not necessarily a shock. It seems that it literally, as you said, this is almost like Lucy in the football. As you get later into the tournament, that you got stuff like this that happens. And on the other side,
why would you not assume that PSG is going to lose at some point?
Oh, unless further notice, that's pretty much how it is for me anyway. It's like you assume that this is going to happen, because we also we mentioned yesterday as the show broke, or if the show always breaks, but the news that broke during the show that Scotty Tuhati did in fact get sacked after winning only 2 of 12 with Club Brugge and losing 7-1 in the aggregate to Benfica. That'll do it. In addition to the margin going from 12 to 19, chasing Ajax. Chelsea beats Borussia Dortmund, winning 2-1 in the aggregate. Michael Head is a very, very happy man. But yesterday, Bayern Munich shuts out PSG. That, to me, was probably the shocker of the whole thing, is that you shut out PSG as Bayern Munich to win 3-0 in the aggregate. And AC Milan beats Spurs 1-0 in the aggregate to advance. It was goalless yesterday, but they advanced 1-0 in the aggregate. Antonio Conte, winning a trophy would be a miracle. They don't have they don't have the foundation to win.
I'm glad he understands facts about the universe. Nice job, Conte.
And and so now the questions are there about the future of Antonio Conte, which I still think, I think more than anything that this just continues to add to that notion of Conte's gone at the end of the year. But now everybody's sitting there and wondering about Harry Kane, Manchester United sitting there waving their hands in the air like someone who did care at Harry Kane and going, hey, you can come on over here if you want. And questions for Spurs, with all of this fun stuff going on. So, Champions League continues to be what Champions League is. We've got Europa League and Europa Conference League. We'll talk about that at 10:30, and everything else that's going on today. USL Championship news. And once again, reminder that Willie P. Style comes up in 20 minutes, and we'll talk about what's going on with Charlotte as we get ready for Charlotte and Atlanta on the weekend. Did you see, Jarrett, where Joshua Winder is getting looks, and it looks like Lou City is close to a deal with Joshua Winder heading, I believe it's Benfica. I want to check real quick. But it appears Joshua Winder trained with Benfica last month. Now it is going to expect a USL record transfer, Joshua Winder, soon to Benfica. Fantastic news for the USL Championship. And even better news if you're Lou City, because once again, Lou City is putting folks in the international spotlight, and it's Joshua Winder this time, closer and closer to getting signed by Benfica for a USL record transfer. It's crazy.
Well, dang.
That's crazy. It's fantastic, but it's crazy to see that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I mean, hopefully they can continue to make it grow. Hopefully they can continue to see those sales go, and hopefully they don't end up in a situation, where they're getting undercut on value by clubs in Europe because they're thinking, it's just USL. We can shortchange them.
Mm-hmm.
No, stand firm. Get your dollars worth. If you're Lose City, if you're any team in USL at any level, get your dollars worth.
Yes. Did you also notice? How are you about watching soccer 24/7? How are you about a 24/7 soccer network? And Alex mentioned it in the Twitch pitch, and that's where I was going.
It's full degenerate mode, and I appreciate that. Go on.
CBS Sports is launching a 24/7 soccer streaming Golasso network starting April 11th. So basically a month from now. CBS Sports is launching CBS Sports Golasso Network. Quoting the article from our friend Paul Kennedy over at Soccer America. They've entered the soccer broadcasting in a big way. Champions League, NWSL, Serie A, CONCACAF, national team competitions, etc. Golasso Network will air on the digital platforms, Paramount Plus and Pluto TV. Quoting Sean McManus, the launch of CBS Sports Golasso Network demonstrates the continued evolution of our industry-leading soccer coverage as we build on the incredible momentum we've created the past 3 years, delivering authentic, informative, engaging, and entertaining content across multiple platforms. Gee, this wasn't written for him. Led by our best-in-class studio shows and announcers, more than 2,400 live soccer matches a year, and now a dedicated soccer streaming network, CBS Sports is the ultimate destination for soccer fans, end quote. The anchor show will be Morning Footy, airing weekdays 7 to 9. And by the way, CBS Sports Golasso Network, we start at 9:05. We at Soccer Down Here can be encouraged to roll back our start time to 9 o'clock in the morning, should you so choose. Just a hint. Just dropping that out there. Susanna Collins, Charlie Davies, Nico Cantor, Alexis Guerreros from the Cooligans, and Jenny Chu will be a part of Morning Footy from 7 to 9 a.m. Live matches from the soccer properties. It began airing in 2020. And quoting Kennedy, it believes fans will watch more, including pre- and post-match coverage, magazine shows, films from Paramount Plus' soccer documentary collection, and original programming. They got another quote from Jeff Gertula from EVP of Digital. Says the new soccer network will capitalize on existing soccer properties, building free audiences around CBS Sports and Pluto platforms, driving new subscribers, enhancing the sports experience for Paramount Plus. Here's what they have in their dossier: NWSL, Nations League, Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference, Serie A, Scottish Professional League. Furuhashi, by the way, didn't he get his 20th yesterday?
He did.
Barclay Women's Super League, the Brasileiro, LPF out of Argentina, and the AFC Champions League. So how are you about dialing up digital soccer 24/7?
I mean, I'm fine with it. You give people an opportunity to watch stuff all around the world. It's how they learn. It's how they discover new things that they might like. That's how they learn. They might not like things as much as they did. It's fine. It's fun. It will be enjoyable for everybody. We'll go quietly. We'll go to jail. We'll enjoy it. It's fine. Don't worry about
it. Burned with the math correction. He says U.S. soccer lost $25 million in 22. Forecast for 23 is a loss of $46 million. So he says there goes your U.S. Open Cup coverage. BAM, USL record transfer, so they'll get $2 on a Coke. Come on. Joshua Winder, this is going to be 7 figures. I mean, literally, this is going to be a 7-figure transfer.
it. It should be.
burned when he watched Joshua Winder in the same field as George Campbell, Nelson Orji, Noah Cobb. You could tell he was a different caliber and quality. And I like our young center backs, but Winder was just better, no doubt about it.
Lou City's done a really good job, man. And it's Lou City just keeps showing up.
Yes,
they won't go away.
Yes,
how rude of them.
Yeah, I know, really. Did you see that Karine Diacre was sacked as coach of the French women's team? French Football Fed announced on after her position was weakened following a revolt by leading players.
Wendy Renard said she wasn't going to play in the lead up to the World Cup. I'm pretty sure that's how you skin a coach.
Yes.
I don't think it's that damn complicated, y'all.
Nope. And when Diani and Katoto also left, so you're heading into a World Cup. You lose Renard, Diani, and Katoto.
Yes.
You're like, okay, yeah, that should. And Diacre said she was gonna see it through, but
position got weakened. No shit.
There goes the explicit rating.
But seriously, the coach got mutinied by the best players, including one of the best center backs in the world and one of the best aerial scoring threats in the world, who wrote this long, heartfelt thing about it. Yes, of course, that's how it went down, and they lost their position, and they lost all their leverage for everything. Duh. Again, I don't think this is overly complicated.
Nope.
And if I'm wrong, then man, I don't know. I need to go shave with Occam's razor more often.
Ow. 4 months before the World Cup is set to start. France ranked 5th in the world. No Renard, no Diani, no Katoto. They're like, nope, we're out. And Wendy Renard, Karine Diacre is kind of like, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm cool. And that didn't quite work. Recap. The Fed is already in crisis following the recent resignation of their scandal hit, and this is from Agent France Press.
Yeah, Le Sommer and Henri had already been frozen out. It's not like this was like a clean cut, oh, this came from nowhere. How did this have happened? How could we have predicted this?
Yes.
I don't know. Pay attention, maybe.
Yes. Here's how Agence France Presse wrote it. The French Federation, itself in crisis following the recent resignation of their scandal hit 81-year-old president Noël Le Graët, said its own investigation had exposed, quote, a major fracture with senior players, which had reached a point of no return that was damaging the team's interest. Jarrett, you want to hit me with your line again?
No shit.
Thank you. The Triple F acknowledges the implication and the seriousness with which Karine Diacre and her staff have done their job, but it seems the problems are, in this context, irreversible. In view of it has been decided to bring an end to Karine Diacre's job at the head of France's women's team. However, no new coach has been appointed, with France next due to play home friendlies against Colombia and Canada in April. Under Diacre, they lost to the U.S. in the quarters when they hosted in 2019, lost to Germany in the semis of the Euros. Diacre had been hoping to stay in the position until after next year's Olympics in Paris.
Yeah, I'm hoping to win the lottery.
and Bart,
I mean, hopes and dreams are nice.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly a good situation now, is it?
What is it that you always say about frogs and wings?
Yeah, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass when he jumped.
Mm-hmm. So, and Byrne, and that's another thing. Byrne, there was an article that came out about, it's in The Athletic, about the Spain national team as well. So that might be your requested reading of the day. And Bart, I thought you were this close to saying ding dong hello. But yes, ding dong Diacre out. France just became actual contenders this summer. But, I mean, does this mean that you think that Katoto, Diani, and Renard are going to come back in with a handful of months to go? Are they going to come back in to be a part of the squad now? I guess.
I mean, I would assume it. And Byrne, you're probably more locked into this than I am. And I'll happily take your opinion on it. We can happily call in our regular, World Soccer Degenerate as well, Bart.
Yes.
If Bart's around. Abby Erceg did something similar when she was with New Zealand's national team. Ended up leaving for a while and then coming back when things were more to her liking.
Yep.
So maybe,
Yeah.
but maybe it's not just the coach that Renard and company want to see changed. Maybe they want to see a confirmation that, hey, things are actually different.
Mm-hmm.
Not just you fired the coach because you figured that's what you wanted.
Yep. Byrne has the feeling that they're coming back 100%. And Byrne, to your point, I found the article. It came out this morning by Luke Bosher at The Athletic, discussing that Spain needs to do the same. 15 players are sitting out. Barcelona feminine midfielder Alexia Putellas rejects the idea that Spain players on strike are rebels. After they booked their place in the World Cup in September, 15 Spain players sent a letter to the FA, to their FA, the RFEF, making themselves unavailable for selection due to the situation around the national team. Putellas was not one of the signatories because her ACL injury made her unavailable, but shared the statement from the group, which includes 6 of her Barcelona feminine teammates, as well as 2 players from Man U and Man City. Players have not been recalled by Spain coach Jorge Vilda, despite their first match at the Australia-New Zealand World Cup 134 days away. Quoting Putellas, "We are not rebels. It's exhausting to have to be constantly demanding improvements in order to perform better. I don't think you have to use adjectives like that. It's a problem between the players and the federation. Private conversations have been leaked, and this situation doesn't benefit anyone. We want the players to be able to focus 100% on performing. It's exhausting to be constantly asking for improvements. The leaders should improve our conditions without having to ask for it all the time," end quote. So that's Spain's 2 friendlies in April, Norway April 6, China April 11 before the World Cup in July, where they face in the group Costa Rica, Zambia, and Japan. So that's
It's amazing that every time we get up on a World Cup like this, we're having to have these situations where it's at least 1 or 2 countries where, like, you're getting a full-on mutiny because of the treatment of players, and you have big name players having to step out and get stuff done to make sure that people can actually play and get respect and get good conditions that they're happy with. And whether it's actually conditions, whether it's whatever it might be, whether it's people having just issues with a coach specifically, like, it's just wild that we always seem to have this in the lead up to a World Cup. And I know it's a high leverage time, and that contributes to it. But damn, y'all.
Mm-hmm. And once again, to Byrne's point, France and Spain are almost exclusively about the coaches and their deficiencies and personalities. And I also think, obviously, with France and Spain, you've got some behind-the-scenes stuff that needs to be addressed as well. Unlike U.S. and Canada, where it was about pay structures. And, yes, Ricky. It was funny that Diacre was like, "I'm not resigning," and the Triple F was like, "Well, like, yes, you are, LOL, and good riddance." So, hate to break it to you, but yes, Karine, there's the door. And do not let the knob hit you on the way out. We're done. So yeah, looking forward. Look, I want to see. Look, we all want to see things improve as they should. And for those of us who talk about it on a daily basis, it's common sense to have things improve. Unfortunately, there are folks in positions of power that want to keep theirs, and they don't want to benefit the collective, and they don't understand the larger picture. And unfortunately, you see that sometimes. You see it often. You see it too often sometimes. And so we're seeing it come to the fore, and you hope the change is coming soon. And Ricky, yeah, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here. Yeah, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. That's basically what the Triple F told Corinne Diacre this morning. It's like, I'm staying. Well, no, you're not. You're done. Turn and we just turned your key card off, so not happening. So we've got that going on this morning. Other stuff quickly, and obviously in the 10:30 segment after, Willie P. Style joins us to talk Charlotte and Atlanta. We'll go over the juice boxes and the stuff to watch on TV today. But Paul Pogba has been dropped for the first leg of Juve's Europa League last 16 tie with Freiburg for, quote, disciplinary reasons. Club source told AFP on Thursday. Missed almost the entire season with a knee injury, was not in the squad list for the match released by the club on Thursday. Source confirmed to AFP that Allegri left Pogba out after the 29-year-old arrived late to a team meeting on Wednesday evening. Last week, Pogba made his first appearance for Juve since returning from Manchester United last summer as a substitute in a derby victory over Torino, featured off the bench in the defeat at Roma. Injured his meniscus and his right knee in July, initially elected to not go under the knife in a bid to make the World Cup squad in the location that it was in November and December. However, despite later changing his mind, he didn't recover in time to play for France. They lost their crown as world champs in a thrilling final with Argentina. Once again, that's words from AFP. Paul Pogba dropped from the squad against Freiburg. Hutch, if those in leadership would treat those who are not in the way they would want to be treated if they weren't in power, then we would not have these problems. Isn't that the golden rule? Yes. Treat others as you would wish to have yourself be treated. That was probably the long way to go around the quote, but yeah, that's makes too much sense a lot of the time. Jared, I know you're turning into a pumpkin, but what else is on your mind before you go?
I mean, just more Champions League tonight, more CONCACAF Champions League tonight.
Wednesday in LAFC.
We spread it over 3 days here. We do things weird. I'll just point. Yeah, I mean, if people in power would actually treat other people with respect, you'd be amazed how far that would go. And we run into that, I feel like, in not just sport, we run into that in normal business as well. And it's embarrassing. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's kind of like this damn surprise Pikachu face meme. This is that of like, what? We treated people poorly? Things didn't work?
What?
I can't believe that.
I know.
Yes.
That's shocking.
God forbid, man. I'm just
stunned.
Whatever, man. I'm very annoyed by it.
Understandable. You should be.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just it's embarrassing that it keeps happening. And it's embarrassing that people's reaction to this, that like the human being reaction to this isn't, wow, these people really screwed up and we need new leadership in. Who should we get in leadership? I don't know. Let's get some people in leadership. And the people you get in leadership go, man, I can't believe they were corrupt and got caught. They should try being corrupt and not getting caught. I bet I could do that.
Yes.
The fact that that's your, or just you're not even being corrupt all the time, just being a bad human being. The fact that your reaction to this isn't, wow, maybe we shouldn't be bad. It's maybe we should do all these crappy things, but try not to get caught is a really damning indictment of how you're acting as a human being. And you can just piss off.
Yes. Basically, yes. So, Jarrett, tomorrow is Friday, yes?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So
unless I can build a machine to make it get here today, yes.
Yes. So, okay. So that means that tomorrow it's 9:05, the sprint, then Beyond Goals at 9:30. And if it's Michael Parkhurst, we got to ask about the video that he was a part of where he stood on top of Mercedes-Benz. We got to ask about that. And then the weekend whip around at 10 o'clock. So we will preview the entire weekend going on in Major League Soccer. So we will see you on a whip around Friday.
Yep.
It'd be good. That's Jared Smith, everybody. And awaiting Willie P. Style coming up in short order to discuss everything going on with Charlotte, everything going on in his mind with Major League Soccer and the Eastern Conference. And trust me, there's a lot to discuss. Kind of cool that, Angel City. Alyssa Thompson took an English class in the morning and at night scored her first goal in a professional debut 5 minutes in. So we had that going on. Other quick news and nuggets from Ben Jacobs, reiterating what he's reported before on Sheikh Jassim and Manchester United. It's an all-or-nothing bid. If the Glazers choose to remain in any capacity, Jassim will not proceed. The 9-2 Foundation want 100% or nothing. Quoting Jacobs, Qatar will not be tricked, as one source put it, to bid against themselves. Reign and Manchester United building competitive tension, including from mystery bidders. But Jassim feels his indicative offer is strong and other groups share similar valuations. No one is close to the Glazers' numbers, which is to be expected at this stage. Sources close to Jassim have said from the start they believe there's a lower volume and value of interest in Manchester United. The 9-2 Foundation plans to stick to their strategy and not get drawn into a bidding war against, quote, mystery rivals. Meetings in Manchester due diligence. You get higher offers. Sheikh Jassim wants 100% or nothing. And so it is now the top of the hour. And we bring in someone with golden ticket status where we can talk about other things if he chooses. Willie P. Style, Will Palaszczuk, the voice of Charlotte FC on the radios. What's going on, dude?
What's going on, John? How are you?
Trying to mire our way through Thursday thoughts. Here's what hour number one was all about. Here, just to give you topics. Here's what hour number one was like. We talk CONCACAF Champions League. By the way, what's in the mug?
Water.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I mean, some folks do coffee, and some,
I'm already one down, so I'm good to go.
Me, I've got Mountain Dew in here as well.
This is actually my Brant Bronico grind set water bottle. So
okay, excellent product placement. Well done. We talked Champions League and the possibility that Violette may surrender. They may have to forfeit after winning 3-0 to Austin FC because they only have 12 folks who were approved for visas into the United States.
That's crazy.
Same thing happened with Cavalli last year with the Revs, remember? And having that go through CONCACAF Champions League, what was it? Vancouver put 5 on Real España, and the Real España said that the cold was one of the contributing factors. The travel and the cold were contributing factors to their 5-0 loss. And they actually had a player collapse and have to go to the hospital. They didn't announce who it was. Talk Champions League, where Spurs continue to be somewhat toothless.
Oy.
Yep. That's the word to use.
That hurts. That really hurts.
Well, and Jared already gave us the explicit rating this morning in discussing Champions League and other things. We talked about. You remember did you watch The Big Show growing up with Olbermann and Dan Patrick?
Oh yeah.
So
I'm old enough for that.
Do you remember when Keith would talk about something and it would start with the letter G and it would be a failure, and what Keith would do? It would be Gah! So PSG for me went to PSG.
That's crazy.
After losing, we talked about Josh Winder and Benfica. We talked about Open Cup going to Bleacher Report. Sorry, BR. The Open Cup broadcast is going to BR, and if you're not one of the chosen ones for BR, you can set up a production team and do it yourself if you so choose. And we talked about Corinne Diacre getting sacked from France. I need that drop. And then
France. We come from France.
Yes, exactly. Coneheads. Well done. And then my question for you before we get into Charlotte and Atlanta United, and this will give me a chance to actually promote that you're on the show and type feverishly on the Twitters. Did you see the announcement about the CBS Golasso network?
I did. My good friend Susanna Collins is going to be fronting a show there, and so I do feel like that's something that can give American soccer a greater footprint in this country. I'm curious how much MLS they're going to talk. If it's going to be mostly talking about the leagues internationally, I think that we do need more of the MLS product being talked about in the more closer to mainstream. I think MLS has always kind of been that one sport that has thrived off of not just fan media, but non-mainstream media. But anytime it's taken, unfortunately, to a mainstream entity, unfortunately, the numbers aren't as fruitful. I know that the Fox ratings for the first 2 weeks have not necessarily been great. I'm wondering and curious what it'll be this weekend for Charlotte and Atlanta, but that'd be my only question about it, just because Susanna has an MLS background and a lot of people who are on that program have MLS backgrounds as well. I'm wondering how much MLS talk it will bring to the American airspace.
And that for me, with all of their soccer inventory, that they can go to games and do whatever they wish. I mean, literally, we went through the dossier and it's like AFCON and the Women's Super League and all of these things overseas, the LFP and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it is going to be a true Junkies experience once you've got it locked into your systems and it's part of Paramount Plus and all this kind of stuff.
Very much so.
Junkies unite is how it goes. Okay, you have been, and thank you for filibustering so I could promote the fact that you're on the show. I appreciate that. All right, let's get into the first weeks of the season here for Charlotte. Now that you've had some time to look at week 1 and week 2, drive over to Douglas, hop on a plane, get up to 30,000 feet for me. What are your 30,000 foot observations of the first 2 weeks for Charlotte FC?
I feel like for a lot of people in the fan base, they're looking at this week and have used the P word for panic. And,
wow. Okay.
And that's, I think, part of the reason that this game is so incredibly important for Charlotte FC. And I think that's, I wouldn't go so far as to say panic, but I do feel like myself, Jess, my co-commentator, I think both of us have really much expected more. I'm not going to sit here and say that they should have outright won the first two games, but style makes the fight, John. And unfortunately, when it comes to Charlotte, they've had very nice build up and great phases of play, but they've also unfortunately been riddled with miscommunications, with momentary lapses, of what Christian Latanzio called lapses in concentration or focus, and not necessarily being all there when it comes to their back four. They gave up an own goal, a penalty goal, and one off of a disastrous giveaway by Adilson Malanda, and that's how they lose against St. Louis. They lose in the first game against New England because of an attempt by Karol Swiderski to turn defensive possession one into a counter, and instead of just clearing it and potentially trying to play for a point, because one is better than none. And I think you have a situation now with Charlotte where the manager is still trying to find his right 11. And I think from the creativity standpoint, you're trying to find the best positioning for your three DPs and how is best to implement them in the attack, because with only one goal scored in the first two contests, and a lot of people looking at the full-on form for both Swiderski and Jóźwiak, I think that right now that's kind of the big conundrum right now is how you utilize your best players and put them in positions to make things happen. We know this team is capable of scoring goals. We saw it in the latter part of last year. We saw it in spades in certain points a year ago as well, but I do feel like they wanted to get more offense. That's why they signed Enzo Capetti, and that's why they've tried to figure out the right box to place Karol Swiderski in, whether that's the 18 or the 6, or possibly in the corner in the attacking third. That didn't intend that metaphor to be the way that was, but it worked out anyway. And I think right now there is a lot of angst and agita on Christian Latanzio's plate to try and figure out just exactly where the best way to employ his attack is right now.
So then could some of the Pepto for the fans of the Crown be the idea that it is only the first two matches in, you've got new faces, you're still trying to figure out how to integrate? You mentioned how Christian Latanzio has mentioned this kind of stuff. It's going to take a while for things to get to full song. So
sure,
I understand the notion of the P word, but then there's also development and getting to know you. I mean, literally, I know that we're past the name tag stage of, hello, my name is Enzo.
Right.
But I would think that it's going to take a little bit in game state, because friendlies and preseason is one thing. Game state and games that matter are an entirely different thing. And I would just think that you might have a better gauge, say, at the quarter pole as to who you are instead of where you are after two matches on the board.
Oh, I'm that's part of the reason why I don't have that panic about me. I think the one thing, unfortunately, that Charlotte FC fans, and again, I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody who roots for this team, but I think where a lot of their concern comes in is that one of the things that we were told about being a first-year side is that it does take some time, it does take some effort, and then you see St. Louis City SC, which, granted, as a first-year side, is a bit atypical because they got to play together for a lot of the year in the MLS Next Pro level. They are looking much better than I think anybody would have thought they would through 2 weeks, granted. I think that a lot of the goals that they scored this season have been by the sword of their opponent as opposed to their own creativity. You could say that their style kind of breeds a little bit of that with their significant pressing, and I think you give a lot of credit to Bradley Carnell and what they've done and how they play an organized system. And it's I'm not going to say it's Red Bulls-esque or Philadelphia-esque, but I think it's a hybrid of between the two, because I do feel like they cause you to make mistakes, and that's something that Austin did in week one with the goal that they scored from Jared Stroud that got them the lead in Austin. And same thing with Klaus that finished down with the insurance marker after the giveaway from Malanda. So I think that's kind of where a lot of the feeling from Charlotte FC fans is that, okay, here's a first-year side who's actually looking like they're organized. They have 6 points of 6. And where Charlotte's sitting right now, having struggled through their first two matches, they're wondering when that's going to click for them. And I do feel like we underrate how long it takes to develop chemistry, and the fact that Charlotte FC, from their standpoint, had a very tumultuous preseason, not just the passing away of Anton Walkes, but trying to figure out where their most important part of their team, their spine of their team is. They still do not have a man who started center back for them for a majority of last year in Guzman Carujo. They lose Walkes, unfortunately, and you have to bring in a center back and build Tuiloma that has to get acclimated to things in a very short order. He basically flew on a red eye the Saturday before the season started and had only 1 week of training with the club. So he's trying to learn team concepts. You have a Dilson Malanda who I think has about as high a ceiling as almost anybody on this team. When you think about people talking about a flirtation with Europe and people wanting to bring him in as a center back of the future, and somebody who has garnered a lot of praise. Unfortunately, the gaffe last week maybe took a little bit of the sheen off that. But you also have a conundrum at fullback because Charlotte FC's Joseph Mora played in the opening game. You had Brant Bronico, who had to move from defensive midfield down to the left back position in what is, I think, an experimental move of Christian Latanzio. We'll get more clarification of whether that's a long-term issue or whether that's something that they're trying to shoehorn him into. But between that and Nathan Byrne, who only played in 3 of the last 4 matches of last year, you're looking at a largely new back four. And as Jess can tell you, that's something that is always difficult for a team. And, of course, ignoring the fact that they're dealing with a goalkeeper in Pablo Cisniega who only played in 2 games last year and has only had 32 appearances in MLS. And Christian Kalina is still working his way back from a back injury. So I do feel like those are the big concerns, I think, from Charlotte FC's perspective, where you can't fully judge them until – you have some sort of consistent 11 that develops well, because like you said, John, there's a lot of shuffling in and out of the lineup right now. And I think to expect it to be 100% crisp and clean, I think is very ambitious at this point.
And you, sir, have basically written a book about what's been going on with Charlotte FC with everything and breaking it all down. I mean, literally, you're talking like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter. There's a lot of stuff going on that's got to be sorted out, man.
We're in the words of Bull Durham, we're dealing with a lot of blank. So.
You're dealing with a lot of ish right now.
Very much so.
Very much so. All right, so I do want to talk about Anton, and I want to get that down the line a little bit because I know I want to spend a lot of time there. Let's go back to what happened in Austin and what happened with Kip specifically. There's been discussion about it being a part of the game, not a part of the game, kind of dealing from the bottom of the deck if you're Jared Stroud. What's been the feedback on that moment specifically when it comes to sportsmanship? Does it happen? Should it happen? Those kinds of things. And would you do something like that if you were in that situation?
It almost kind of feels like that Foundation for a Better Life commercial where the ball goes out of bounds with the young kid in basketball, and he said, "Coach, I hit it out last." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right cross sport analogy, but I mean, there is something to be said about that being a thing. But I think once you get to a professional level, I think they're all professionals. I think anything is kind of fair game. I know that there's the shot of Stroud who is holding his hands out like he's trying to beg for a pass. And I don't think the similar thing happened. I have to go back and watch the tape again on the Malanda moment with Klaus. I don't think the similar moment happened. I think that was just again a play that. I hate to use the word careless, but it was one where it was a schoolboy error. So I honestly think it's more about their style, and I think you fault the young man. Unfortunately, Kip Keller, that wasn't the only moment you could look at and say was a bit of a floundering moment for him. I think there was coverage on the corner that scored the first goal, and also just his man-marking defending, probably leaving a little bit to be desired on that one. So, I feel bad for the young man because he was forced into action after the injury to Cascante, and I think that it's always a difficult spot to put a kid in, especially against what ends up being his hometown club. I wouldn't say that that's foul play on St. Louis's part, but I do feel like, again, they've lived a very charmed life. I'm not saying that to take anything away from what they've done in the first 2 weeks, because again, I do feel like their style breeds that, but I'm curious to see what happens when, they go up against the LAFCs of the world and the Philadelphias of the world and these other teams that can score with anybody about whether, or even a Red Bull side that plays a similar style like them. I'm wondering if they can out Red Bulls. I'm not trying to demean the first two teams they played, because Austin was a playoff team a year ago, and I have high hopes for what Charlotte FC can do. But I do feel like from their perspective, in two separate instances, they've lived a very charmed life.
Halftime with Will Palaszczuk, the play-by-play voice for Charlotte FC, and we will definitely get into the plugs at the end of the segment about how folks can listen to you and Jess and listen. It's going to be a full weekend listening to Mike and Jason, listening to you and Jess. It's like get multiple devices squared away.
It'll be a whole mood for you, John.
No, you ain't kidding, brother. Well, actually, I will be in my last day. See, I'm going to have to figure out. Here's where I am. You notice the background behind me. For those of you,
it looks very conspicuously like a hotel.
Strange enough, that is absolutely correct. I am in day 2 of the high school basketball championships here in Georgia. So I am in Macon. I'm in Macon, Georgia, in a hotel room doing the show this week. And then the second 11:05 hits, it is shut everything down, grab the dress clothes, grab the makeup, head out the door, go to the Macon Coliseum, and stay there. Saturday, I will be in game number 1 of 5.
That's a yeoman schedule, man.
Activities. Yeah, so literally, I'm going to have to pay attention to the 4 of you through this device, through my laptop, on the press row at the Macon Coliseum. That's where I am. But the fact that I get to talk about it in the morning, then slam the computer down, head out the door, and then go. See, that's why I'm in a hotel.
I got you.
Long version for a longer story. But halftime with Will Palaszczuk, play-by-play voice of Charlotte FC. Golden ticket status member, by the way, here at SDH, which means since you have golden ticket, much like Willy Wonka, you can crash anytime you want. You sit there and
very much so.
Nelson, I got something I want to get off my chest. You crash the party anytime. All right, second half. Last time that you were on the show, it was for a reason that I never want to reach out to you. And it was with Anton back in January. And I wanted to get into this discussion as kind of leading into talking about the match in and of itself. But what has it been like up there in Charlotte since we caught up last? And I see the Anton scarf behind you in your studio setup. What has it been like up there in Charlotte with this unfathomable loss of someone who impacted 2 teams and 2 communities the way that Anton did?
Well, the one thing that I'm comforted by, and something that Christian Latanzio has said in his time this season, is that he wants to talk about Anton in the present tense. So he calls Anton his special assistant and says that, he's having constant dialogue with him, which I think is incredibly spiritual and a good thing, and keeps his spirit alive. They've done the thing that a lot of teams have done in sports over the course of time when this has unfortunately happened, where they'll keep his jersey or his kit with them on the bench, and that's something that I think will continue. The supporters did a fantastic job the opening weekend, rolling out a tifo for Anton, which was really, really cool. And I know I saw similar type of celebrations in Atlanta, and so I'll give them their props and their flowers for that as well. And the thing about it is that the way that they did the celebration of his life and the moment of silence in the opening half, it was very stirring. And I give the club a lot of kudos. But one of the things that I think Christian Latanzio has said that befell his team, not just in the opening week, but I think also in week number 2, is that they need to learn about controlling the moment a little bit better. And I think that from the event standpoint, both weekends were events for completely separate reasons. Charlotte's home opener, celebrating Anton's life. They supporters here at Bank of America Stadium clap in the 5th minute or after 5 minutes for 60 seconds now. They've turned that into a tradition, which I think is incredible and helps honor his memory that way. Very, very common to the soccer lineage and the soccer genre. But I think maybe the one thing for this third game. And I know that there will be memories and things about Anton because these are the two clubs he played for in MLS. But I think from Charlotte FC's perspective, they need to channel that energy a little bit better because I do feel like it has possibly played a toll on the way that they've played because I do feel like you said, you can do whatever you want in the preseason, and the preseason has a different feel to it. But taking the field without him, I think, is something definitely that they're looking at and saying, for not only from an emotional standpoint, but just from a tactical standpoint, they got to figure out how to play better. And you mentioned the Anton scarf. That's a great initiative that was started by not just Atlanta supporter groups, but also Mid City Collective, the largest supporter group here with Charlotte FC, and they're selling these scarves. It's $25, and the proceeds, 100% of them, going to the Anton Walkes Family Fund, which I think is an incredible effort. There have been a lot of efforts similar to that. People have been selling pins and patches and things of that nature. Charlotte FC has pins that they gave away in the opening weekend to all the media. It's a very worthy cause, and I know that his impact on both of these clubs will forever tinge the way that this rivalry is perceived, because I think for the most part, it was a friendly but spirited rivalry between Atlanta United fans and Charlotte FC fans. As I said in another spot earlier this week, if you have an MLS descendancy of any kind, more often than not, from Charlotte FC's perspective, it probably came from being a fan of Atlanta United first or at any point. So I do feel like that's part of the reason why this rivalry has become a thing, not just for proximity purposes, but there will, I think, be more of a collegiality brought to it because of Anton and what he meant to both Atlanta United and Charlotte FC.
And I can completely appreciate what Christian Latanzio is saying about treating Anton in the present tense, because the way that we are with those around us and those that we love and those that we care for, if we talk about them in the present tense, they're with you. They're not gone. And I think that having that thought process of, okay, if Anton is here, then he can help us, and we can think like Anton in these situations, both on and off the pitch, about how we carry ourselves and about how we want to present ourselves, not just on the pitch, but in the community. And so I can definitely appreciate his thought process there about always having him in the present tense.
And not just that, I mean, it speaks to the kind of teammate that he was. I can't find a single person who had a bad thing to say about Anton Walkes while he was with us or now. And I think that's the part of this that I feel like has kind of helped us not, I don't want to say move on, but be warned by the fact that his presence is still with Charlotte FC. I mean, he was, after the manager change last year, he was one of the people you look towards whose game really improved. Christian Latanzio valued him, called him one of the best center backs in all of MLS, and said that he was being underutilized in his time under Miguel Angel Ramirez. I think he only had one start and maybe 3 or 4 appearances under Miguel, and I don't think he played. I don't think there was a game that he didn't start under Latanzio once Christian took the helm. So I think it's a definite testament to the fact that he was a leader, not only vocally, but also in play. And I think as a result, you look at what Charlotte FC can do from here on out. And I think any of their success you can attribute to the spirit of Anton, because that is something that they have to harness and hang on to and channel in the right way.
So now let's talk about the matchup this weekend in your homework for both Charlotte FC coming off of the first 2 matches and staring at Atlanta United. What has study hall been like for you in getting prepared for this matchup? What are you looking at?
Well, I can say Atlanta continues to look very organized. Brooks Lennon is always going to be somebody who's a chance creator. Thiago Almada, I think, has taken that next step. And I think while a lot of people nationally and even, in Atlanta United circles were concerned about the departure of Joseph Martinez, and I think once you see the development of Giakoumakis, it can be very tantalizing to think about what the pairing between him and Almada will be like. I think people underrated where Almada was, and the fact that Almada didn't have as much of a role with the Argentinian national team as you might have thought. The fact that he is even a part of that squad and that loaded squad that won the World Cup, I think is testament enough to the fact that he's definitely poised for a breakout. The 2 goals he scored in the opener, I think, were incredible world-class goals. I think that y'all got robbed in the second game because I think that that wasn't offside on the goal that would have won it, but the referee VAR felt differently. In terms of Charlotte, their big task this week is they got to get shots on target. That's the big thing right now, is that they had 15 shots in the game against St. Louis. They had double-digit shots against New England, but the percentage on target was not great. At one point last year, and multiple points during the middle to late half of the season, they were leading MLS in shots on target. They didn't have a high volume of shots, but they were leading in percentage of shots on target, and that just hasn't been the case in the first 2 weeks. The chances have been few and far between, and I think you have to figure out how to get Kapetti, Swiderski, Józwiak, and whoever starts on the right wing or central attacking midfield, depending on where you put Swiderski. You have to figure out how to get those guys in dangerous areas and how to get them the ball. They've actually had more of their service come from the midfield than they have from the wings. So I think that's part of the reason why you've seen the shuffling from Christian Lattanzio. They need to get more shots on target. In the first week, there was a bit of a timidity in trying to shoot. They were able to get the ball in dangerous areas. They just couldn't pull the trigger. I think there was a lot of unselfishness from the team, and I feel like needing to be selfish at the right moments is something you have to look for there. And I'm curious to see how the Atlanta center backs handle Enzo Kapetti. He's somebody who I think as a striker brings about a different kind of tenacity than Charlotte FC has had as a presser, and from a body standpoint, he's 5'11", but he's over 200 pounds. He doesn't have a typical striker's build to him. He's actually somebody who started his career in the second division in Argentina as a defender, so he definitely knows how to defend the ball. But they realized that his technical ability and his ability on the ball made him probably more suited to play striker, and that's why he's been looked at as a bit of a late bloomer in the Argentinian scope, and that's why you haven't seen him as part of the national teams and part of those, because you know how very competitive it is to get on the Argentinian national team. So from Charlotte's perspective, it's getting more shots on target, and I think from Atlanta, it's how does the pairing with Almada and Giakoumakis continue to develop, and some tough decisions for Gonzalo Pineda, as I'm sure, trying to figure out how he gets time for Etienne and Barry and Lennon and Caleb Wiley and all these very talented players who are going to have a very high shuffling midfield. I think also the pairing of Parada and Robinson will have to continue to develop too as well. I know that there might be some concern about Robinson still off the Achilles injury and how their defense is, but I look at a side in Atlanta, I still see them very organized, and they're always going to be when you have the kind of talent that they have on their roster.
Yeah, you mentioned Giakoumakis, and I think that you're kind of looking at it the same way that you're looking at Kapetti going up against the center back pairing of probably Miles and Juanjo Porata, with Gigi going up against the center back pairing for Charlotte, considering that Gigi is 6'1", 6'2", and he is not a skinny dude either. And so it's like you mentioned Kapetti being 5'11" and 2 spins. Gigi's probably 6'1", north of 200 as well. So I think that it's almost an interesting mirror image that we're staring at possibly with the center backs and the dudes that are looking to be the point of the spear.
Yeah, and Tui Loma is somebody who, again, the own goal aside, I was very excited about his insertion into the lineup for Charlotte FC, because I was his first training session. I had in my mind's eye that Charlotte FC had signed a new player, but first time you see a guy training with a squad and you see him going through the calisthenic drills, he just is built differently. Like, he's built like an NFL linebacker. Yes. And I was like, I looked out, I said, who is that dude? That dude looks like he's built like a house. And I mean, in the best way. I'm not saying that he's out of shape. I'm just saying he's thick with 2 C's. And I think that's the thing with Tui Loma, is that, he's got a wide frame and he's an imposing individual. And the thing about him too is that he can score goals. He scored 6 goals last year as a center back. So I think it's something where we've yet to see what he can be. And I talked with Zoran Kaneda about this too, their sporting director, and he was very, very high on the Tui Loma signing. I think it's very odd to come in here and say that he, quote unquote, has to replace Anton. I think that using that verbiage and terminology is very unfair to Anton, but trying to find the right pairing between Tui Loma and Malanda. If Corujo gets back healthy, maybe they go to a back 3. I don't know, but I do feel like from that standpoint, again, his blunder against St. Louis City SC aside, he's somebody I feel like can be a very effective player once he is totally and 100% up to speed with everything from a training standpoint, as he has, like I said, only been here about 2-3 weeks.
Tuiloma is definitely a house that's got a 3-car garage. That is not that is no lie. Before we go, one last thing. Can we talk about your journey for a little bit?
Sure.
You have done some tremendous work in becoming a healthier person. And in this business, that is something that a lot of us in this business, man, we take for granted. And you have gone the absolute flip side on this, and I commend you for it.
Thank you.
And you have done some fantastic work to become a healthier person.
Yeah, basically through the radio station, we have a partnership through PhD Weight Loss, which is a weight loss company that's actually based out of Asheville, North Carolina, but they have offices in Charlotte. They've got offices in other places throughout the country, and they have a nationwide at-home hotline that you can kind of use and use their product that way as well. And I kind of came to a realization about August last year that I was getting married in January and didn't really like the way that I looked. I'd gotten north of 250 pounds and not really happy with how I'd fit in certain clothes. I was down to 2 pairs of jeans that fit and not exactly happy with the way that I looked. I was pushing a 2X and a lot of shirts too as well, and had fallen out of favor in some of the suits you mentioned, some of the formal clothing. I'd been down to only one suit that I could wear too, so it was a conscious effort. A lot of it had some vanity in it because of the wedding part, but it just was a desire to get healthier. And when the opportunity came across, we had a personality leave our radio station that was endorsing the program, and there was an opening for it, and I kind of pushed for it. And me and a couple other guys at the station have gone through it, and I'm about 6-7 months in, and my peak, I had lost 57 pounds at my peak. Now at about 51 down from what my previous high was. Going on my honeymoon to Antigua, I did have to partake in the fruits of the country, if you will.
Understood completely.
And they were very supportive of that. But the diet's been easy. I think now it's more about trying to figure out how to build some muscle back up and maintain. If you look at some before pictures from, before the season last year, I look completely different. I even told the folks at FC, I was like, I need to update my headshot photo on my credential because it was, it looked different, and it looked more like a ballpark Frank. They plump when you cook them a little bit. So I definitely have noticed a difference. My wife has noticed a difference. Even she didn't do the program explicitly with me, but she kind of mirrored a lot of the things that I was doing, and she also ended up losing some weight as well, to the point where she actually had to do she had to change her wedding dress size because of that. So that was something that was a happy accident, and something that you look at, and we still haven't gotten our full scale wedding pictures back, but I'm happy with the way they turned out, and happy with how the diet has turned out. And it's not to say that there aren't days that I don't go through craving bad food and things of that nature, because that's always kind of going to happen. They have some audio exercises that you can do to try to suppress some of that. But the thing I loved about it was that it's all normal food that you're used to, and they do give you some like packets with like shakes and stuff like that. But there's no hormones, no shots, no nothing from that aspect. So I liked that point, and they had a plan, and they got great coaches, and I'm excited to partner with them and get these last couple of pounds down to get me down to my target weight, and then basically after I hit that, the maintenance is free for life, which is pretty cool.
Broadcast plans for you and Jess are ...
So we will be on the air at 11:30 Saturday morning. The kick is listed on MLS as noon, but it is actually, because a national televised matchup on Fox is going to be 12:25.
So we have the super mega pregame show.
We have a little bit of extra time for Jess and I to break this thing down, but we're hoping to get a player on with us as well to break that down. And like you mentioned with Apple, the feature that involves the home radio, I think is an incredibly cool thing. I think it's taken from the old MLB advanced media scenario where they have something very similar where you can listen to radio with the pretty pictures on top of it. And I think it's incredibly innovative and cool, and it allows for that hometown call. I was playing around with it for a couple of the games that didn't coincide with Charlotte's over the first 2 weeks, listening to Dave Denholm over in LA, and I didn't have a chance to parachute in on Mike and Jason just because of the timing of the matchups. I think we did have a 1 hour difference, but as you know, but before kickoff, you need to be focused on certain things. So I did want to try to make sure to parachute in on those guys, but it's a really cool feature and should give us a little bit more exposure in the long run, especially if they somehow eventually end up adding the away broadcast, which I think is in the planning. I think here in the next couple of years as they get out of the beta stage of Apple MLS Season Pass. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I was this close to dropping a Denholm impression, but I need to save my pipes for 4 days worth of.
Yeah, I'd say you got a little bit of work ahead of you. I wouldn't do that.
No, but fantastic work off the field for you. Love to see it. Love to follow along with all of your updates about your health, and great to pull the curtain back on this matchup and everything going on up there. Great to have you on, my friend.
Best of luck for every week except for 2 of the next.
Yeah, I see how that works. Will Palaszczuk. Will, thanks for hanging out, my friend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Willie P. Style on the Twitters. And Anton, go to Mint City Collective. Check that out. The Mint City Collective, and for the Anton scarf. Very, very cool stuff. And thanks to all of you on the Twitch pitch for sending Will the encouragement that you are. It's fantastic work by Will, and he just got to a point where he needed to address it, and he's doing a fantastic job with it. Great to see that he is doing what he's doing. He's drinking water. I'm drinking Mountain Dew. So we see how things work here. All right. Michael Valverde loves the friendly nature of the rivalry. Always interesting how shared experiences can bring folks together. Rest in power, Anton. Yeah, and I have not heard anything about any kind of a name for a rivalry when it comes to Atlanta and Charlotte, unless it's like Queen City rivalry or something like that. Empire City, Queen City, something like that. I'm sure that all of you with the supporters groups and supporters will come up with something, and it will be fantastic. And looking forward to seeing what the response is in the fifth minute up there in Charlotte on Saturday. So great to have Will on to break things down when it comes to Charlotte and Atlanta United. Once again, Mint City Collective, our friends there. Check that out because it is a fantastic idea to help the Walkes family continue. And so Mint City Collective, check that out. And you saw the scarf for those of you watching on Twitch that Will has in his office. So, all right. So we got stuff to talk about here in the final 25 minutes. Absolutely fantastic, Wiley. That's great that you ordered the Anton scarf. I need to order one myself. Wiley thinks that Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville need to have a little tournament with a WWE style belt as the trophy. Would it be like the Cena thing with the spinning soccer ball, maybe something like that? I love the idea. The friendly rivalry is certainly there. So we got stuff to talk about. We've got to go through all of the action today. We've got gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We've got stuff to talk about. There are a couple of other articles. We mentioned what's going on with the French FA. There's some other stuff going on there. We mentioned yesterday about everything that has been going on with what happened with the Champions League final last year, and where fans for Liverpool were going to get reimbursed for the price of their ticket, and they're still pretty hacked off about that because that was only what they were going to get as compensation, especially if you drop like $50 on a ticket, and you have a legal representation sitting there going, nah, that ain't enough. Requested reading. And this goes back to our conversation that we had yesterday with Bart about officials. At The Guardian, in their football section, there's an article called Line of Duty, and it's how assistant referees cope in an angry world. And so it was written by our friends at Nutmeg Magazine. and it's posted in the Guardian section on football. So when Bart comes on next week, you guys will have to remind me to discuss this article with him and the points that were addressed in it. Manuel Pellegrini, he, according to Sid Lowe in the interview that was done in the Guardian, England is the best league, but the best football is played in Spain. He's in Europa League with Real Betis. And first time he came to England, it was tackles and muddy pitches and heads crashing together, and that's the football that fans like. 35 years later, he still thinks that the best football is in Spain. Yeah, Real Betis is where he is. And, he talks about his journey with Sid and about winning championships and things like that. But, England is the best league, but the best football is played in Spain. Look at the Champions League, and Real Madrid or Barcelona are champions. In the Europa League, Villarreal and Sevilla. And he discusses Real Betis as a part of it. La Liga this season, 98 red cards. In the Premier League, 20. England's way is the right way. There's less simulation and referees let it flow. The spectacle matters in their strength. City, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, now Newcastle could all compete for the league. The distribution of money is better. The amount generated in Spain, the gap is significant. And that was where the quote came from. England's the best league, but the best football is played in Spain. And he mentions Real Madrid, Barca, Villarreal, and Sevilla. And legitimately, when you look at Europa League, and this is where I admit that I came around on Unai Emery as a manager, was his time and just charging through Europa League when he was with Villarreal. So that's what Pellegrini said in his sit down with Sid over at the Guardian. Let's see. Also, where was the FA bit? I'll find that really quickly. Talking about Scotty Tuhati getting sacked. Of course, when you're trying to find something, you're like, Dortmund, Leipzig. FIFA could have the U-turn about the championship. So 2 points from the Champions League final. Liverpool fans, and this is the headline from David Kahn. David Kahn is someone you should follow on Twitter without question because of the great work that he does. And 19,618 Liverpool fans who bought club tickets are going to get a refund. Legal firms acting for fans said that they will press ahead with claims. Law firms representing almost 3,000 Liverpool supporters have said UEFA's offer for a ticket refund does not go far enough and that they will press ahead with legal claims. UEFA confirmed that the 19,000 plus who bought club's allocation for the game in Paris could get their ticket money back. It promised last month to open a special refund scheme. Remember, scheme is just their word for process, basically. We think of scheme as one thing. They think of scheme as something else. It's just, once again, it's the translation of the word. In response to the findings of the report it commissioned into the events at the Stade de France. UEFA bears primary responsibility, according to the study, for the, once again, David Kahn writing, catastrophic organizational and safety failures that turned the final into a horrific, traumatic experience for thousands of Liverpool and Real Madrid supporters. Fans experienced access delays, congestion, crushing turnstile closures, brutal policing, and criminal attacks by local groups. General admission tickets ranged from 70 to 690 euro. Refunding Liverpool's ticket allocation will cost UEFA about £3 million. General Secretary Theodoridis, right, said that the scheme was comprehensive and fair, recognized fans' negative experiences, and he previously apologized for what has happened. Said it would reimburse Liverpool for the total value of the tickets, and the club will then process refunds to supporters. 3 law firms representing Liverpool supporters said the offer did not go far enough. It previously told UEFA legal action would be taken unless more substantial compensation than a ticket refund is paid. They've argued fans are entitled to compensation for their physical and psychological injuries under French law. In response to UEFA's announcement, Tony Winterburn, partner at Pogest Goodhead, which is running the legal case against UEFA alongside the Liverpool-based law firm Bingham's, said, quote, digesting the fine details of this scheme will allow us to determine if it is, in fact, comprehensive and fair, although this does present as a step toward UEFA accepting responsibility for the events. our legal case is still progressing. Pertinent to the extent of the physical and psychological injuries of our clients remains at the forefront of this process. We believe the term refund, in its broadest sense, does not go far enough in providing redress or acknowledging the true harm suffered by those at an event that should have been safe for all to attend. Claire Campbell and Jill Patterson, partners at the law firm Lee Day, which represents more than 900 Liverpool fans, says, quote, what is required here is more than a ticket refund. UEFA did not just ruin the biggest event in the football season. People were injured and traumatized, and any compensation needs to reflect that, and they're going to push forward. So it ain't over involving the French FA. And in turn, David Kahn came out with a story, and it came out about a week ago, and just circling back to find it. The FA backed Alexander Sefrin for UEFA re-election weeks after what happened in Paris. Football support for Alexander Sefrin was to be re-elected, sent a written endorsement just 3 weeks after everything that happened in Stade de France. So they backed Sefrin just 3 weeks after the fact. So you got that going for you as well. Just interesting stuff that came out a week after the fact. Going on in the Telegraph this morning, you've got a couple of other things going on. You've got discussions about Maldini. Folks asking that Bruno Fernandes needs to be banned for his Anfield petulance. And we talked about that with Bart yesterday as well. So Tottenham fans have turned on Antonio Conte. They're angry. They're very, very angry. I feel like I should do it as Martin the Martian there. They're very, very angry at Antonio Conte. And Conte, in his post-match press conference, even actually wondered if he was going to make it to the end of the season. This is not the right day to speak about my future. I have a contract with Tottenham, and then Tottenham know very well what my thoughts are. At the end of the season, we will meet and make a decision. I'm really sorry for the fans, but we cannot invent the win. It's important to know this, or to hope that in one day a miracle of a trophy can go into our training ground. We have to have patience. But I know the fans do not have patience because for a long time Tottenham have not won a trophy. To Italian television, Jason Burt from the Telegraph. To Italian television, Jason Burt says he appeared to be a little more spiky, remarking provocatively, you never know, the club might want to get rid of me earlier. Perhaps they had higher expectations. So the question is now, what now for Spurs? It was the last chance of winning a trophy. And then is Antonio Conte going to be there? Is Harry Kane going to be there? Those are your big questions for Spurs as a part of all of this. And for Martin Martian, well, that's what happens when you're. When you spend a lot of time doing, when you're just staring at cartoons as an adult. The Illudium Q36 space modulator. You've got that going for you. You got belts, Ricky? All right, so I'm gonna have to look at these and figure out what these belt pictures are. So I'm gonna have to go to Twitter. So I'm going to Twitter and seeing what you're talking about and discussing belts. All right, so we have belts. We have belt pictures. Buddy Mob also has pets of the week that are available. But belt pictures, Ricky, you're going to have to let me know about that. Yes, Coco as Sam, I may do that by the time the weekend's done because it might get a little punchy. Coco, being the Wheeler grad, assumes that I want Wheeler to win the 7A championship. What I want more than anything is to figure out why all these ants are still in my hotel room. Wheeler and Cherokee, interesting. It's region rivals, and Wheeler with the player of the year, the national player of the year in high school basketball. So it will be interesting, and we are awaiting dunks on our coverage. And by the way, for those of you that want to see what's going on, it is on. Here's my promo. GPB Knowledge, which is on the like the 240s if you still have cable. It's in the higher numbers. It's GPB Knowledge is like your 0.3, and it is Digital Tuner 8.3, 18.3. I may do that, Sam, but I will tell you what my plans are when I'm heading home as well. But it's on all of our social media platforms at GPB Sports. Download the app. It's there. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, all those places. That's where we are. We're also on GPB Knowledge over the air at 0.3 in your local market if you are in the state of Georgia or have access to Georgia Public Broadcasting across the board. So thank you. Thank you, Ricky, for posting it in the Discord. Ricky, what I'm thinking for the and Coco, what I'm looking for is a good game. I want a good game to have a lot of viewers. That's what I'm looking forward to. Because I remember covering Wheeler with Doug Lipscomb as head coach. That's how far back I go with my basketball coverage. The Southern Champions belt needs to be contested between Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, and D.C. D.C., I think, is north of the Mason-Dixon line. I don't think that would count. Might have to be the purple team. But I think what you could do, Ricky, is do it almost like the old NWA belts. So if it's already made, it's already made. But I think you should be able to take off the District of Columbia and just peel it away, and you'd still have the Southeast. You'd have the Dixon side of the belt, and do it that way. So you would have the Dixon side of the belt, and almost make it look like the old U.S. TV championship belt in the NWA days, where it's just the United States. But take something like that, and just make it the Southeast, and just have the Southeast plastered on a belt. And then that way it's already there. So, take the District of Columbia out because it doesn't count because it's not south. It's north of the Mason-Dixon line, I think. So that's how it would be for me. But no, I want good games. Coco, I want good games. That's what I want. Across the board, I want good games. We had competitive games yesterday. Teams were still getting adjusted to the rims and being in a building that seats 8,000 people. So shooting percentages down a lot. Presentation and scoring was down by about half. So, yes, in Waitlandia. Okay. And Miami is the North expansion of South America. Okay. I see how this works. Sam, you're going to have to remind me if you want me to do the read as Martin the Martian or Dave Denholm or something like that. Remind me, like when we get close to the top of the hour and we get into hour number 2, remind me that I've got to do the read like that. So that way I can do the read like that. And, we'll see if we can do the read in that manner and see what's going on. Cool, whip, that kind of a thing. No, but yeah, Coco, the smaller classifications who don't have the national schedule, like a Wheeler or a Pace or someone like that took a while to get adjusted to. The smaller classifications yesterday, the smaller schools took them a while to get adjusted to playing in that building with those rims and the sight lines and everything. But no, Wheeler, Pace Academy, all the teams that play nationally, they're the ones that are going to be okay and integrating a lot faster with what you're seeing. Let's see what else is on my list this morning. We got to preview what's going on. We got to do juice boxes, and we've got to do viewing schedule. So let's go into viewing schedule and let you know where things are. And don't forget, Golasso Network is going to be a part of our lives starting in about a month. But we will continue to petition. Yes, definitely, Wheeler and Milton, round 1. We will petition since morning footy is on from 7 to 9. Like I said, we can roll back our start time back to the original 9 o'clock. Or we can just do kind of like what Dan Patrick does and just kind of filibuster, come on the air at 9, just do like a opening kickoff, and then come on the air at 9:05 and then do our thing till 11:05, sign off at 10:58 or 11 o'clock, and then they can do whatever else they want for the rest of the day. So yeah, SDH is more than willing to be a part of the morning programming grid at either Season Pass on Apple TV Plus or on Golasso. So There, we put it out there. We'll be more than happy to do it. All right. So what are we watching on TV today? I know I'm watching basketball because I'm sitting on press row. So soccer on TV. And I know that Bam had to go to bed. FS2 has your CONCACAF Champions League in addition to 2 to NA. Now, Motagua Pachuca at 8, Alajuelense LAFC at 10. I'll probably be getting back to the hotel just in time to see the second half of Alajuelense and LAFC. Europa League on 2 to NA, Sporting and Arsenal at 12:45, Manchester United, Real Betis at 3. Unimas has your simulcast of Man U and Betis. Europa League, it's all Paramount Plus. 4 matches at 12:45, the 4 matches at 3. They have 3 of the Europa Conference League matches at 12:45, and then the other at 3. Same for VIX and VIX Plus. VIX has Roma, Real Sociedad, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Feyenoord at 12:45 and 3. VIX Plus has all of the others. So that's your viewing habits for today with those games. Let's get into juice boxes really quickly, get into Champions League, both Champions Leagues and Europa League and things like that before we go, and get you into what we are staring at. So it needs to be Europe. So we go into Europe and look at Europa Conference. We go into Europa League, Europa Conference League, and wait for the computer to behave. Roma's a favorite at home against Real Sociedad at a plus 135. Bayer Leverkusen a big favorite at home at a minus 323. Sporting is a dog at home to Arsenal as a plus 117. Union Berlin is a minus 143 at 12:45 against Royal Union at a plus 525. 3 o'clock. Juve is a minus 167 hosting Freiburg. No Paul Pogba. Manchester United a minus 244 hosting Betis at a 685. Sevilla's at a minus 112 against Fenerbahce at a plus 334. Shakhtar Donetsk is a dog at home in Poland. Feyenoord comes to town at a plus 120. Shakhtar Donetsk, by the way, is a plus 234. You've also got Conference League. You have 7 of the 8 going on today. Başakşehir in Ghent starts things off on the 15th. So you have West Ham on the road, a big favorite at Larnaca at a minus 167. Villarreal a favorite on the road at Anderlecht at a minus 120. Nice a favorite on the road at a minus 128 against Sheriff Tiraspol there, north of plus 400. Basel at home is a favorite at a minus 127 against Slovan Bratislava. Fiorentina, big favorite at home at a minus 455 against Sivasspor, north of plus 1250. Ghent a plus 104 against Başakşehir in leg 1. And Lech Poznan is a minus 115 at home against Djurgården, who is a plus 330. In North America, let me see how they phrase it. Let me see if they phrase it as Central and Central. No, they phrase it as North and South America. So North and Central America. So getting into the juice boxes for the CONCACAF Champions League, Motagua, big underdog at home against Pachuca. Pachuca is a minus 119. Alajuelense is a plus 181 at home. LAFC is only a plus 143. So LAFC is a favorite, but a slight favorite when it comes to what you're staring at for Champions League at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock tonight. So very, very busy day when it comes to soccer. Like I said, you can start watching at 12:45 and you're not done until midnight. Bro. So you're looking at 11 hours of soccer laid right out, right there in front of you for everything that is there. And let's see. Trying to see what else is on the board. Oh, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Silly me. I forgot about that. All right, so let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go and see who might be going where or who isn't going anywhere. And, once computers behave, we can actually get into the information and we can find out what's going on. So you got Tuesday. Well, it's not Tuesday. It's Thursday gossip at this point. So your Thursday gossip, a lot of big names on the board. Manchester United willing to offer €130 million, 115 million pounds to sign Camavinga from Real Madrid. Harry Kane, it's on Eric Ten Hag's summer wish list, along with Ghanaian midfielder Mohamed Kudus, who plays for Ajax. Manchester United looking to sell several first-team players, including Harry Maguire, according to ESPN. Borussia Dortmund will not move from their €150 million valuation of Jude Bellingham. Liverpool increasingly confident they will sign Bellingham, but their hopes of doing so likely rest on their bid to secure Champions League football. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Leeds United defender Robin Koch is considered a potential signing by Newcastle. Bundesliga clubs also interested. Chelsea remain interested in Leipzig's Josko Vardiol, despite signing 3 central defenders since Todd Bowley bought the club. Manchester United's owners, the Glazers family, may no longer be looking to sell despite receiving offers. We talked about that early. We also talked about that and then coming from the 3-letter paper. Eden Hazard intends to stay at Real Madrid until his contract expires in 2024. Bayern Munich will reject the chance to make the loan signing of Joao Cancelo permanent for £62 million. Newcastle could tempt Barcelona into selling Rafinha if they match the £55 million fee the Spanish club paid to sign him from Leeds last year. That's from El Demarque in Spanish. Brentford goalkeeper David Raya expected to leave in the summer after rejecting 2 new contract offers. Deal runs out in 24, but he's linked to Chelsea and Spurs. Villa are keen on signing Athletic Bilbao's defender Inigo Martinez on a free in the summer, but face competition from Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. So let's check the papers and see what's going on from the British papers perspective. And once again, remember, we always avoid the 3 and 4-letter papers. Word that it looks like several Spurs players are trying to plead with Mauricio Pochettino to return if Antonio Conte leaves or leaves early. So keep an eye on that as we're working our way. Let's see. Do we have anything? Where are the papers? Where's the papers? Mikel Arteta has refused to confirm whether Gabriel Jesus has traveled to Lisbon for their match. And, that would be rather interesting. But, yeah, the Qataris are ready to walk away if the Manchester United price isn't right. Glazers are wanting £6 billion, and the Qataris are like, okay, well, if that's going to happen, then we want it all. Something like that. So keep an eye on the biggest thing there. We want it all or we ain't doing nothing. And so that's what that's the biggest thing that you're staring at when it comes to the possible sale of Manchester United. You are looking at the Qataris, Beltani, like I said, full price or it ain't happening. So that's what you're staring at from the players' perspective when it comes to Manchester United. It's either everything or it's nothing. But you could see, you literally could see Sheikh Al-Thani sit there and check out, and he's like, "Nope, I'm done. I'm out. See you later." So if it's not 100%, then the Glazers, and I'll say this kind of as a parallel. I mean, the Glazers are kind of turning into Mike Ashley with his time in Newcastle. So it's like, yeah, I'm thinking of selling. No, I don't want to sell. Yeah, I'm thinking of selling. No, I don't want to sell. So we'll see what happens with Ashley and whether or not he's going to, or with Ashley. Wow, that's a Freudian slip. With Manchester United and see if things are going to. So we had news at 11 o'clock. We had news. So if this is in fact, so let me see if I can find it. All right. So Land United 2. Okay. All right. So yes. So this is how we will end the show. This will be a fantastic way to end the show. I'm looking forward to this one. So let me see if I can find the appropriate way to end the show. And we will do this, and this will be our last item for today. Luke Brennan signs a deal with Atlanta United 2. Fantastic news. Fantastic flow, by the way. Atlanta United 2 announced it has signed Luke Brennan to an MLS Next Pro contract for the 2023 season, pending League and Federation approval. Former Academy standout, seen playing time with the Twos last 2 seasons. He will become an Atlanta United homegrown player effective January 1st of 2024. Very, very cool. Carlos Bocanegra's statement continued to progress through the ranks over the past few seasons. Talented player that can play off either wing. Has some experience with our first team during the preseason. Looking forward to seeing him continue to develop with our MLS Next Pro team this season. And remember, he scored against Toluca in the AmFam Cup 2. He's scoring again, and he's scoring against dudes that are twice his age. 27 appearances last year in USL Championship, 11 starts. First professional goal came in the 3-3 draw against Birmingham Legion. Another goal late in the next match against FC Tulsa. His first two career assists last season as well, and finished the season playing 1,044 minutes for Atlanta United 2. Atlanta native earned the call-up to the U19 youth national team last summer, played with the U17s group for Atlanta United in the Generation Adidas Cup, helped reach the knockout stage. So Luke Brennan, at the age of 18, signs with Atlanta United 2 and will become a homegrown player effective January 1st, 2024. That is beyond cool. So that's how we're gonna end the show this morning. Yes, he has very much earned it, Ricky, and thank you for posting the belts to the Discord. I did see my note pop up, and so I will check the Discord. I will check the belts, but you got to pull the District of Columbia out because that's not the South. So we'll be back at it again tomorrow, and 9:05 standard format. So 9:05 tomorrow, we're going to start getting you ready with news of the day. Get you to 9:30. 9:30, our friends from Beyond Goals will come in. We'll talk if it's Cap. We'll talk to Michael Parkhurst about being on top of Mercedes-Benz Stadium as he shoots the video, and all the other stuff that's going on in his mind. Rhode Island FC, by the way, they have a new head coach. We'll see if we can get a 1v1 with the new head coach at Rhode Island FC. If Cap is going to join us tomorrow, we'll talk about that. And 10 o'clock starts the weekend whip around. Hopefully we can get a visit from Jason, and we can get his perspective on Atlanta United and Charlotte FC as we roll our way into that matchup. Once again, we talked about the basketball, and thanks to all of you guys who watch and are interested and are letting us know about Wheeler and all of that kind of cool stuff as well. So very, very cool. And looking forward to all of it as we go through here on a Thursday. So tomorrow will be Friday, and we'll be back at it again at 9:05. So I'm going to head from here in the hotel in Macon. And thanks for your patience where that's concerned. Thanks to Will Palaszczuk for joining us today to talk about Charlotte FC and everything going on in Charlotte. And once again, Min City Collective, Anton Walkes scarf. Very, very cool stuff. And we'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow. Thanks to all of y'all for hanging out. And as I bid adieu to all of you guys in the timeline, it's the end of the show. So for Jason, for Jarrett, and for Nick, I am just John. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. Mucha Platiel played safe. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9:05.